Dude, did you know you can subscribe to onlywrestlers.com and keep in touch with your favorite wrestlers? The party never has to end.
This week's episode of One of a Kind with RVD is presented by Get Blitzed, and you can get 15% off your order when you head to get-blitz.com and use promo code RVD. Get 15% off.
One of a Kind with Rob Van Dam is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
I don't see a union being a good thing and working cohesively with pro wrestling. I've never understood it.
Here's a question from Instagram, a wrestling historian. Thank you for your Canadian $2. He says, why doesn't Rob Van Dam like unions?
A wrestling historian.
Yes.
So I don't know that I would say that I dislike unions. Mostly when I'm having discussions about unions, it has to do with my business, my industry that I've been in for like 35 years. And I don't see a union being a good thing and working cohesively with pro wrestling. I've never understood it. I still don't. And so I'm not a fan of it. And when it comes to wrestlers wanting a union, I don't get it. So I'm not pro union, that's for sure. I know that for a lot of careers, it's the unions that helps the little guys and looks out for everybody, and it can be a good thing with certain jobs. But I feel like, first off, pro wrestling is barely even a thing. All right. I mean, when you look at it like that, when you graduate high school and they're giving you your career choices to look at, they don't throw pro wrestling down yet as a choice of something that you can follow up and do. Sure as hell didn't have any shit like that in Battle Creek, Michigan. You know, no acting, entertainment, nothing was offered as an option or possibility. But it wouldn't be, because think of how small it is. I mean, all this time that I've been alive, there's been like one really big company, you know, there was like a second that was really big for so many years, a few other small ones. It was never like something that the state had a legislation over, you know, like with boxing, you know, the state sanctioned boxing matches. Now there's something, you can see it in every state, different levels, you know, Golden Gloves, amateur, pro. That's something every YMCA offers. But pro wrestling is such a rare thing. You got to figure how many people out of the population are going to be pro wrestlers. Not very many. You know, is it going to be 1 out of 5,000 people? Not even that. Not even 1 out of 5,000 people is going to be a pro wrestler. So when you look at it, what a small entity pro wrestling is already, and then you want to put demands on wrestling, no, you just want to put demands on the one big company. That's the way it usually is when people start exploring their feelings. Are you thinking if you could get unions to work in wrestling, are you thinking Bobby Fulton's Big Time Wrestling and what the hell is the name? Cherokee? I don't remember what the name is of his
Chippewa or something.
What is it?
Chippewa? I can't remember.
Anyway, are you saying Greg Price's All-Star Wrestling in Cordele, Georgia, once a year, that should have insurance and that should have you know, the unions and really, people when they're not thinking about that, they're just thinking, oh, it just seems like those guys should get treated better, and that's really what's behind it. But when you break it all down, you know, there's only like one really big company that signs people up to contracts in the United States. There's besides that maybe one other company that signs people to contracts, and that's it. So do you put limits on like, okay, well, you should have a union if you have this many people working in your company or this or that? How do you control it so that you're not keeping the really little guys from even being able to run shows? I don't know. And then also, I think unions tend to level out the playing field in a way that I don't see working with wrestling, because when it comes to marketability, all the talent is so different and so circumstantially unique. It's hard to say, okay, you know what? This guy's been here 6 months, so he needs a raise. You know, we're going to give him $5,000 a month more, whatever. But does he deserve that? It's just because he's been there so long? Because I think that's usually how it would work in unions. But in this particular strange phenomenon, it's not just time on the job that's going to make you more valuable. In fact, some people have all the time in the world on a job. They've been working forever. They're the shits. They've always been the shits. And so that's not going to help them. But some of the things like the it factor, how the crowd connects and takes to them, aren't even explainable. So when you're looking at using a union, okay, well, look, John Cena has a bus. Rey Mysterio has a bus. Okay, well, guess what? I need a bus too. Is that what the union's going to say? And should they? Is that fair? Should everybody get a bus? Or should that be something that you work out in your negotiations as an independent contractor? Because that's where I think it all falls into play. You sign a deal not as an employee, as an independent contractor, which means you're your own boss and you're leasing out your brand and your body as your business. So now, what do you need? You got to have a bus. It's a debt. Boom, put it in the contract. Then you gotta have a health insurance. You want them to take care of it. Boom, put it in there. That's independent contractor, freedom, capitalist society, that kind of stuff. I can wrap my head around, but having a union work with the talent of wrestling. I mean, I could see it maybe for the crew guys. Maybe they are under unions, you know, the guys holding the microphones. I don't know, but I can't see it for the wrestlers because of these reasons.
And that's perfect. You make the perfect point about it all too, Rob, is like, you think about, okay, it's all based on talent, and it's so subjective of who's going to be a star, who's like gonna be there for like a short amount of time, who will actually work out and pan out. You look at when it comes to organized sports or like professional sports, like the NFL or Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, like all of that is primarily based on your ability to play and everything like that. Whereas wrestlers, yeah, you need to have the ability to wrestle and you have to have that certain type of talent, but there's more involved with it from a charisma and personality, a look, everything like that. So it's all subjective and it's all that kind of thing. And when it's an acting standpoint, if you're thinking of SAG or anything like that, Hollywood's just a big booming business that goes across the board and that has all that money to kind of throw around. Whereas wrestling, okay, there's one big one. There's one big one, but that's it. That's it. Outside of it, it's like, you know, it's not something that would be very sustainable in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, that's I think that's a great point to make.